Okay, welcome back to Sacred Space. This is part 2 of my video of the 30th of... Yes, it is the 30th. I've got such brain fog today. The 30th of October 2022. I had to make a mad dash and cut my other video off, short, and then I had to lie down because I actually feel, I feel quite unwell actually. I don't know whether it's the heat or whether I've been overdoing things. But anyway, I wanted to finish off the story, continue the video that I was making that got rudely interrupted. So, as I was saying at the end of video part 1, so I bought this tin with a little music box, which was enchanting. Anyway, I got it all home. I bought the tins and I bought a little square, like almost tray shape, made in timber. That was $2, which was perfect for putting my new foam I'd just bought insert and turning into a ring display. So anyway, so I bought all those things, and the young Māori man at the Salvo's second-hand shop was quite sweet, really, and he's serving me and he's running up the things I bought, and he only put half of them through the till, and he says to me, "Oh, that's $10." And I stared at him because I knew I'd spent more than $10, and I said, "Oh, did you put these things through?" And it was the square tray and open-ended box and a few other bits and pieces. He said, "Oh no, I haven't." So he puts those through and I pay, and he says, "No wuckers," which is short for no wucking fories. And I just started giggling, I said to him, "That's unusual. I haven't heard that expression in years." He said, "Oh, I say it all the time. My uncle will kill me if I don't." And he really drove it into me. And I'm like laughing. So anyway, he was a nice young man, and I go out. And I get out into the heat, and I just felt drained and completely soul-sucked. Not because of the interaction with the young man, he was actually lovely, but just the heat, I think. And I thought, oh, well, I haven't eaten today. And by this stage, it was like about 2:30 in the afternoon, right? So I'm carrying my bag, because I bought a bag to put everything in, just a little shopping bag, and with all my booty, my new second-hand tins and my little box and my little notebooks and some craft paper. I mean, I didn't really need any of those things technically, but considering I was thinking that reviewing my video, considering I need food, it's just really utterly irresponsible, quite frankly. But that's what I do. I just focusing on buying things to put towards manifesting my business, and other times I buy things just because my inner child decides she wants that. And I suppose this does contribute to my poverty issues, having very little money and constantly I guess being a consumerist in a globalist, dying, decaying, hedonistic society, right? It's probably part brainwashing and programming when you think about it. But anyway, I was happy with my little purchases, and I'm still happy with them, so no regrets. Je ne regrette rien. The only thing I regret is having to lie in bed on a lovely Sunday afternoon, alone and isolated, when I should be surrounded by people who love me, drinking fabulous drinks by a swimming pool somewhere or at the beach, enjoying life. It just seems all a bit maudlin, really. But anyway, we're okay. Me and the dog, my doggy, we're safe, we're comfortable. Charlie's still out in the tree. And, I'm tired and not feeling very well, so there is that. I could jump in the car and go anywhere, but I also am battling not feeling great. So, my star shall rise again, as it always does. No worries. No whacking worries there, mate. So anyway, continuing on with my story. So I go out, I'm carrying my booty, and, it's another 4-minute walk. I thought I saw the Domino's pizza sign. I might go and get some pizza. And as I walked round, I saw it was next door to Ghetto Burgers, and I quite like their burgers. And there was a Greek restaurant next to that called Euros or something, Euro. Anyway. And randomly, instead of getting pizza, I thought I might get myself a Ghetto Burger. And they're not cheap. They're quite expensive. So Miss Five, who's complaining that she's got no food in the house and is worried about money, which is, situation normal really, went all opulent and went into the Ghetto Burger shop. And there was a nice young man serving, and nice looking young man, probably in his early to mid 20s. Anyway, I ordered a chicken burger and some of their fries, and said, he had a slight French accent or Italian accent, it was hard to pick. Would you like a drink? So I got a can of drink. So I'm sitting there thinking to myself, are you mad? You need this money to put towards groceries. But I thought, well, I've had an opulent weekend because I went out and bought lollies and everything for Halloween, so who cares? And I know I get paid on Monday, so it's not the end of the world, driving down to the last penny. So I'm standing there and making my order, and get the can of drink. And I come back. Anyway, I noticed the young man serving, very affable, sweet, nice young man, had the most beautiful pendants, was wearing the most beautiful pendants. And one was a big chunk of citrine, and the other was done like it had a big, like a Merkaba design, the Star of David, and then it had little gemstones on each point, and it was laid down in resin, like one of those things that people, I can't think of the word for it. People make them, they put copper in it, and it was meant to be a conductor and clear energy and blah blah blah. I used to make them for your house, right? Little ornaments. Lynn made one once, my friend Lynn. Orgone energy generating things. But anyway, this was done as a pendant. It was very pretty, very pretty. And of course, I was intrigued by the Star of David shape, being Jewish. And I don't know if the young man was Jewish. I didn't ask, but I have a feeling he might have been. Anyway, he's sort of looking at me, and I said, I really love your pendants. They're beautiful. And he was like, oh, yes, this one is a citrine, and this one, I said, oh, is it the Merkaba? And he didn't know what I meant by Merkaba. But he went, oh, yes, it's the Star of David. And I was like smiling. Same thing, really. But anyway, I didn't argue with him. I just nodded, And he had, I said, oh, and they're all gemstones and tiger eye. And I nodded again, I admired. And I reached my hand out and, picked up the Star of David, the Merkaba one, and looked at it closely in my hand. He's looking at me because I thought, that's unusual. It was very intimate for me to actually reach out and touch his pendant and look at it. And I just looked at him. I realised it was a bit weird. And but I do like jewellery, and, we were having a friendly interaction, so it wasn't it wasn't anything too creepy or weird. Anyway, I looked at him, and he's looking at me a bit like this. I said, oh, yes, I bought it at a festival, and the girl that makes it is wonderful, and his whole face lit up. And I thought, oh, he must have really liked that young lady that made the jewellery, And I looked at him, and I could see it was a happy memory, this festival we went to. And I just said, oh, that's really beautiful, So anyway, I put his pendant back on his chest where it belonged. I was such a creepy grandmother. It's like, oh, my God, it's really quite sad. But anyway, and he sort of looked at me, not offended, but a bit intrigued, I guess. And And anyway, so he says, oh, so he hands me the food. And I go and sit down, and, oh, hang on, did you hand me the food? I'd have to go and get it. I can't remember. Anyway, it doesn't matter. So anyway, I get the food, and I'm sitting down, and I'm eating my meal, and I'm really enjoying it because I was actually really hungry. I hadn't realised I was so hungry, So, because I eat like a Viking berserker on a raid, about to go on a raid, or who's just got back from a raid, so I'm sitting there hunched over with my bag of bits and bobs that I bought beside me and my arm around the food. I'm like, into the burger and really devouring it. And anyway, I caught the young man sort of looking over a few times, sort of seeing if I'm enjoying the meal, I suppose, or just curious. Anyway, it was a nice young man, but I just sitting there hoeing into this burger, and there weren't a lot of other people around me in the eating area. There's a man behind me, and it just felt so lonely and empty. Like everyone was like cardboard cutout props on a stage. It felt unreal, surreal, that feeling of unreality. And I'm thinking, I almost have this memory of reaching up and touching this young man's pendant before, like I'd met him before, and this interaction had happened before. And as I'm eating, I was thinking about that. I was like, why have I got this sense of deja vu? I've never met that young man before in my life. And then I'm looking down at the things I bought, and I thought, I almost feel like I've bought them before. And so maybe I've dreamt of what happened on Friday. Sometimes I have precognition dreams, but I don't remember dreaming of it. But it might have been months ago, because I just had this feeling that I'd enacted all these things before, and that it was almost to the T, a repeat of everything, the events as they unfolded. So I wasn't feeling very well on Friday either, and I was thinking, I'll have to stay alert, because events are sort of unfolding almost as if they're reminders or repeat performances, like they're important somehow. And I'm thinking, oh my God, Tanya, the heat's getting to you, you're not well, blah, 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 So anyway, so I finished my meal, and I walked back to the car in the heat. And as I'm walking back to the car, there was this guy in this van eating his lunch out of his van, which was odd. And he's staring at me because he probably thought he's in the back of this car park, quite isolated, no one around. And then I came along, and he's just staring at me. But then I suppose probably just staring at me because I'm a woman. But it was sort of weird the way he looked at me. Anyway, so then I was like really on heightened high alert then, because it was like quite isolated, this car park, middle of the day, but there wasn't any people around, I thought, I hope he doesn't attack me. So there was a sense of threat, Anyway, he didn't. He was just devouring his lunch and having a break, I suppose. Anyway, I get in my car and start to drive out, and then another vehicle came in, and there was a bit of finagling because he wanted to park where I was, which was mad because it was lots of empty parks. But anyway, he was waiting for me to drive out. So I don't know what the hell that was about. That was also odd. And then, so I get in the car, drive home, and I get home and I'm like, so happy to be home. So I was happy to go out, but I was actually relieved to be home safe too. So there's that awful feeling of being betwixt and betweenst and not fitting in anywhere. And, there were the two sweet interactions with the young Maori guy and the salvos, and the young man in the get his burgers joint. But other people separate around that issue just felt like they were just zombies, or not quite there, or not right, I think there was one woman in the second-hand shop that I heard comment on the tins. She saw the tins in my trolley and said, I've got heaps of tins at home, she'd bring them in, and giggled. But she didn't say it to me, she said it to the person she was with. And it sort of felt like I was just like observing, like watching a movie, It It's a very unreal feeling. And I get like that from time to time. So my PTSD, my mental health issues, I do get a bit strange in the head. So I thought, I've got brain fog or it's the heat or whatever. But anyway, I must say I was very happy to get home on Friday afternoon. Anyway, so I get home and I look at my new tins and I go immediately to where I was storing my market stock, and I put my jewellery in two of the tins I bought, which looks quite sweet and funky, and to transport to the markets. And then I immediately get stuck into making, cutting up the foam to make my jewellery, cutting up the velvet to make my ring holder with the square tray I bought. And so that took some time. It all looked very nice. And then I put the new piece of acoustic foam in my box, and it didn't work out, and the screw on the lid got pushed out. I think I've wrecked my box. I'm a bit worried about it. But anyway, I got a screwdriver and screwed the screw in and took the foam, put it on the bottom, and I'll just have to hope that it works out without destroying the box, because I've put so much work into that box. But I guess if the worst comes to the worst and it gets wrecked and it's not usable, I'll just burn the bloody thing. Because honestly, I've invested so much time, effort and money into it, and it's just never quite right. I'm never quite satisfied with it, it's just always one thing and another. But at least I've finished working on it now. Like, it's got copper railings to hang jewellery off, and it's got, the foam to put on the bottom, and it's done. I'm done playing with it now. I hope it's done. And that was the other thing that was strange. The woman I bought the box from initially said to me that it had been in her family for 100 years, and her family brought it out from Ireland, and she begged me to cherish it and always look after it and keep it precious because it had been a family heirloom. And that was a strange thing to say to someone you're selling a box to. And I bought it from her very cheaply. I think I paid $35. And I'm thinking, she wants me to cherish and treasure it, and I said to her, well, I will be upcycling it, because it had like really old, dark, manky varnish. And anyway, I upcycled it, and I inlaid power shell, and I made it pretty, and I even sent her a photo. So don't worry, the box is cherished. I'm just seem to have become a bit obsessed with getting it exactly how I want it, So it's crazy. It's also crazy. This box has taken over my life. But don't worry, I did smudge it when I got it home, because I don't want any entities attached to it that would determine that it stays with me forever. I didn't want them to be anything negative or clinging on kind of thing. So it's been smudged and blessed, and and it's been worked on and worked on and worked on by me. So I've got it in the little beach camping trolley I bought to transport it to the markets, because I want to put it on display in the markets and have all the jewellery sitting inside. And it's a massive big box. And I even realised this morning, even that's a bit mad, that I want to use it as a display, because it's quite heavy to carry even in the trolley. And then I realised too, I'm going to have to empty out that trolley, like empty everything out and put it all in the car to get it folded up and put it in the car. And then I'm going to have to load the trolley again when I get to the markets. And that's going to be a lot of freaking finagling around. It only hit me like about an hour ago. That's going to be a hassle. But anyway, so I'm streamlining everything. So everything's in boxes or little tins, and I can just, put them out into a bag and then put them back in each end when I set up and pack up on the way to go to the markets and coming home. So I'm trying to streamline that process. And I've still got to I want to buy a little fold-up camping chair. I used to have two. I don't know what happened to them. I must have thrown them out or given them away over time. Just a little stool type thing that you fold up because I don't have a lot of room, and that trolley's quite heavy now. I don't want to overload it. Just for something to sit on at the market, because I was transporting a milk crate, which was good because I was using it also for storage to put things into. But again, it was taking up a lot of space. So I think a little trolley might be the key. Just put, not a little trolley, a little stool to throw on top of the trolley might make life a bit easier, you know. So, yes, so there's that. And, trying to work things out so I can transport things to and from the markets. And the markets are until the 13th, so Sunday the 13th. So I've got 2 weeks to buy the little stall, fold-up stall, and, get myself organised. I'm pretty much organised. I've packed everything in the trolley and done everything, made everything as nice as I possibly can. And packed in my new ring display and everything, but I don't know, it all takes up a fair bit of space. My fantasy was to get myself a little shop, but I can't afford the rents and the overheads, and I haven't sold anything. Last month I didn't sell anything at all, so I was out of pocket for the rent. So now I'm like anxious, and then I'm thinking, thank God I didn't rent a shop. That would have been grandiose. I would have gone really broke. So, yeah, but I'm just, my goal is to get myself eventually a little shop that I can afford, and, then I don't have the problem of transporting things in and out every time I want to sell anything. That'd be nice. But then the problem would be I might stand there all day and not have any sales, and then be out for expensive rent, insurances, etc., 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 and really go broke. So, baby steps. Baby bloody steps. You should see Beauregard. Look at him. He's lying here. He's lying here with his fat tummy, enjoying being in the bed with Mama, having a rest. So anyway, Friday was very surreal. Felt like timelines converging or deja vu. And then yesterday, Saturday, the 29th, I spent quite a few hours in the afternoon and evening transcribing all my writings onto vocal media from Facebook, archives. And it took me hours and hours and hours, and that was only to do 3 or 4 days worth of writing. So I'm actually really tired from that. And then tomorrow is Halloween. I've got the house all, because yesterday I decorated the front gate and my front entrance. So I've got all that decorated for Halloween with cobwebs and spiders and mice and, little skeletons. And that took quite a lot of time because I had to tie everything on with fishing nylon cord because it was quite windy, and I thought, well, if it's windy now and it's not even Halloween yet and we could have storms in the meantime, the whole lot's just going to blow away and just be a wreck by Halloween. So I was quite determinedly tying everything down individually, which was a lot of bloody work, quite frankly. And the kids just whip through, get their lollies and fuck off, basically. So it's a lot of work, and I don't know if it's even worth all the effort, but, I was actually enjoying, playing, hanging things up, and, my inner child was enjoying herself decorating everything. And then my neighbour Warren, who lives behind me, was driving up to his house, and he stopped the car in the street, and he calls out to me. He says, hello, white witch. And I said to him, who says I'm a white witch? I might be an evil one. It all depends on my mood. And he looked at me horrified, And I said, well, you've lived behind me for, how many years? By now that whether I'm a white witch or whether I'm an evil one, it depends on my mood. He's like, didn't know what to think of that, quite frankly, because he knows I'm not evil. So, not usually anyway. So anyway, I had to laugh. And he said, oh, I've bought some lollies, too, for Halloween. Like, we all really enjoy it in our neighbourhood, which is nice because, it's nice to have these old traditions and keep the old gods amused and bemused and honour them, honour the old gods and honour our ancestors. So I pointed at him with my finger, which is now really quite crooked and gnarly looking, like a real old crone, because my arthritic joint popped out last year randomly. That hurt. And so I'm pointing at him with my finger like this. And it looks so gnarly, And I even had to laugh at myself. And I went, don't forget, Warren, honour thy ancestors. And he looked at me in all seriousness because he, like me, has Polish background. He's got Polish background and his wife's got Russian background. So it's quite sweet, really. And he said, oh, I most definitely will, in all seriousness. And I thought, oh, that was delightful. Because that's actually the whole point of what Halloween's about. Never mind the fact that in Australia it's really Beltane and a spring festival. We've got all our holidays back to front. So I'm observing Halloween in honour of the, Northern European, Irish, Gaelic, Celtic and Viking ancestors. And, or did the Vikings worship Halloween? Don't know. And the Celts definitely did. And the Americans and all those in the Northern Hemisphere. I'm in sync with you guys, but I'm out of sync with the Southern Hemisphere. So I kind of have to laugh about that. As usual, Mama T, the Tanya, the psychedelic dreamer, is incongruent and out of sync with her own culture and time frames, right? It doesn't matter. It's all about goodwill and positive vibes and loving intentions and, the divine feminine and genuine happiness manifested out of what? This COVID epoch where our whole world's upside down anyway at the best of times, and we're just manifesting as much joy and happiness for the sake of the children at least as we possibly can. And I think that's a lovely, benevolent, sweet thing to do. Although I ate too many chocolates and I gave myself an upset tummy, so there is that. And yes, life is weird. Life is weird, Beauregard. Life is weird. Charlie's outside all by herself and we should be out in the garden. But yeah, I just had the urge to come in and finish off my video and tell you that life is beautiful and happy Beltane and happy Halloween tomorrow night. Okay. God's bless. Honour thy ancestors. Don't eat too much chocolate. And observe the converging timelines. Because there's a lot of strange, high strangeness in the world right now. And if you're aware and awake like me, you will notice it. You're not crazy. It's out there. It's happening in a far out way. So just, keep yourselves safe, eat well, love well, be well, do good and kind things for others just because you can. And oh, the other thing I wanted to say is I went dancing on Friday night, which I didn't think I would be able to go dancing because I hadn't felt right all day. And I was quite tired after doing the the foam ring display, and after being out in the heat and buying those few things, I was actually quite weary. But anyway, I got to about 7 o'clock at night and I thought, no, I will go dancing, even though I'm still quite tired. And I went out, I had a nice time. And what was unusual about Friday night dancing in my usual spot was the men were very friendly and sweet. And they weren't predatory for a change. Like, they weren't too... Usually they give off this creepy vibe that's quite threatening. They were actually quite sweet. And I actually put my arm around one chappie and danced with him a little bit and, joked with him a little bit. And then when it came time to leave, which was at around about 2:00 in the morning, I was so tired. I got there about 10:30, so the dance for about 3 hours, Anyway, I went to leave, and this one particular man who had a Scottish accent kind of grabbed my arm and said, "Oh, where's your fan? I need your fan," because they've been joking about getting me to fan them with my fan all night. The fan's for me because my menopause. And but the men actually go, "Please fan us," which is unusual. The men don't normally ask me to fan them. It's very feminine. So it was a real feminine energy on Friday night. Anyway, I did fan them because they were wearing suits and it's hot. It's very hot now. So I fanned them. But anyway, the Scottish man, as I was leaving, grabbed my arm and said, "Where's your fan? I need you to fan me. Why aren't you fanning me?" I have to leave now. He didn't understand. He was new. He didn't understand that my thing is I turn up, I dance for several hours, and I might interact with people, but when it's time to go, I'm out of there. Don't even, don't grab me. Normally I would get really angry about that, but he was new, he didn't know that. He hasn't observed, how I operate. So I didn't get angry with him, and I just sort of stared at him and went, "I have to go now. I'm really tired." And he's like, trying any excuse to keep me there a bit longer, you see, because towards 3 a.m, they get kind of desperate because they think this is our last chance to hook up and go home with someone. And I don't do the hookups. I haven't for years. It's not safe. And I'm in love with someone that didn't love me. And I had a lot of upheaval and disappointment and absolute torrid grief. So now I go, I turn up, I dance wildly, I have a marvellous time, and I go home alone. And I've been doing that now for quite some years. 8 years. I've been going there for 11. So, and all the regulars know this, that I turn up alone and I go home alone. And that's how I roll. But anyway, this man must have been quite keen and quite sweet on me, and was grabbing my arm. "Oh, I need you to fan me." Oh. In other words, don't go. And I'm like, gotta go, tired, Anyway, he didn't press the point, and luckily he didn't, because then I get angry. So it would have ruined the night. But anyway, look, he was a nice enough man. He wasn't hideous and he wasn't totally creepy. He was just a bit too enthusiastic, which does creep me out, even when they're overly enthusiastic. But that's my trauma issues and not necessarily anything they've done wrong, And so off I went. I didn't stop as I normally used to do and hang out with George the busker, because I haven't hung out with him for some time, because he was a bit rude to me a few months ago, so I can't be bothered with rude people. And so I just say hello, goodbye, kiss my ass kind of thing. But I didn't even go outside. I was just too tired to even go out and say g'day. Usually I say hello, how are you, just for old time's sake, because we've been friends there in that scene for years. I didn't bother. Went straight home, straight to my car, got in the car, sat in my car, thought, oh my God, I shouldn't even be driving. I'm so exhausted. So I had to sit for a little while and just have a little rest, because I thought I'm just too tired, and gathered my strength up and drove past George, and he's sort of looking at me because he's all on his own out there. And I thought, well, you know what, it's like I'm not there to be mollycoddle people along, and if people aren't nice to me, I can't be bothered. So, but we're not fighting, and I'm not enemies of the man, anything like that. I'm just not engaging with people in general. I'm just living my best life, keeping myself safe and pristine as much as possible. So anyway, I'm driving home on the freeway, and at that time of night, after I've been dancing for hours, I get this really dark, heavy, fuck, it's almost demonic depression. It seems to just last until I get home. This heaviness, and I'm used to it. It happens every weekend when I come home exhausted. This real dark, dank heaviness. And so I'm driving and I'm fighting that off because I know it's not real, it's just exhaustion. And like almost a spiritual kind of oppression too, because, when you dance out in public every weekend, as I usually do, I didn't go last weekend, I was too tired. But when you're out in the public sphere, you're gathering up energies of other people, and you're giving out a lot of energy because you're dancing, and and I'm emotionally reacting to all the songs, and I'm performance art hamming, and so it's a lot. It's intense. It's art. It's a form of art. People don't realise it, and they just think I'm a crazy old chick doing weird shit in my little corner, but it's a form of art for me. It's an art form for me, and it's a form of releasing old energies and old tensions. But that heaviness that hits me when I drive home, and I know it's not always mine. It's almost like, haha, you failed again. You're going home alone. You're pathetic. No one loves you. You waste your time. And there all these like negative thoughts come through, and I just push them away. I just go, no, you're just tired. You've had a wonderful time. Why are you so awful to yourself now? You deserve to be happy. And I deserve to have a loving partner in my life. Just because I haven't found one yet that rings my bells and is on my wavelength doesn't mean it won't happen, But what happened on Friday night was I found myself, in spite of that heftiness, when I got home, thinking the men were much nicer. They were. They were generally quite kind. Even some of the regular men who I've kept at arm's length for years sort of sat and looked at me with like real kind of interest and almost hopefulness, really. And I just looked at them a bit compassionately, because I'm not interested in having sex with any of them. Not that there's any reason why one shouldn't have sex with them. They haven't done anything to me. Most of them have been quite respectful and maintaining a respectful distance. But I'm not there for that. Those days came and went, and the damage that I accumulated was so much that those days probably will never come again, that I go there and hook up and go home and fucking get all freaking used up by some feckless man. The last one nearly killed me. The heartache over that. So we won't be going there, And I even told him some years ago, I won't be letting any man like throw his leg over me and just use me and treat me like I'm just a piece of meat. It won't happen ever again. I'm done. And I've been true to my word. Every now and then my libido kicks in. Like last week or the week before, I had this like stirring in my libido, and I was like, oh my God, I haven't felt that for like 8 years. Oh, be careful, Tanya. Be careful. You might meet a man soon, and look out, So I sort of tamped it down a bit, and I thought, that's healthy though. That's a healthy response that every now and then I feel like. Or wouldn't it be nice if I met someone lovely and had a beautiful, passionate, wild romance that actually led to something a bit more permanent and lovely than the shitful, callow experiences I had in the past. But I'm too realistic now. You know, my sweet idealism and romanticism got completely annihilated years ago, and I'll never be that girl again, that woman again. So there is that. But yes, the strange Scottish man grabbing my arm as I left the casino on Friday night was very interesting. Yes, it seems like some of the regulars have observed that I'm starting to open up again to the potentialities of allowing love in my life again, and they seem to be unconsciously or consciously picking up on it, because you just see them sort of looking at me like, maybe there's a hope for us, one of us after all. And maybe there is. Maybe I should just, move past the trauma and the horror and the distress and the unrequitedness and the cruelty and the everyday sadism and blossom out again. It could happen. But anyway, I was actually winding the video up when this my spirit decided to discuss this Friday night frottering, as I call it. So you never know. Time will tell. I have hopes for the future that I will meet a kind, loyal, faithful, devoted, decent, respectful, genuinely caring and generous of spirit as well as finances, sweet man. There's one out there. There's, as my mother used to say, mind you, my mother was an nymphomaniac, but, there's a lid for every pot, and I've got the pot, and someone out there might be able to put a lid in a loving, contained, sweet, kind way. Give me a support structure where I can build an actual beautiful relationship on, instead of all that harrowing, neglectful, abandoning, condescending, contemptuous behaviour I endured with all the other, even brief encounters I had 8 years ago. So there is that. 8 years is a long time. 9 years is, number 9 is a symbol of completion. So maybe next year, when it's 9 years since I met the last man I fell in love with, maybe that's what it will take, the full 9 years before I allow anyone new to come into my life. Who knows? Maybe it will never happen. Stranger things have been known to happen, right? True love is eternal, and my heart goes on, and at least I can see, a prosaic, funny way of looking at things, about the way things panned out and the way I was treated, the condescension and the contempt really was awful. But, I've come a long way in the last 7 years since the suicide attempt, and 6 years free of psych meds. And this year has been an interesting growth year, where I started at the markets, hoping to find a way to be financially more successful, so that I actually can financially afford to have a man in my life, because I can't afford to feed an extra person and provide for a man, and no man has provided for me since my husband many, many years ago, and that was the barest minimum. I mean, there was always food in the house, but I was kept in reasonable poverty, didn't have much money of my own. So now I have my freedom and my independence, and, I'm conscious that, I need my own money, and so that I could actually go out on a nice date with someone, and if they turn out to be creepy, can easily afford a taxi home or an escape route, and not live in this constant fear of when is the shoe going to fall and when are they going to turn out to be a complete bastard. And you know what the irony is? I haven't been on a date, an actual proper date, I had one date years ago. It was a guy I met at Kabbalah classes that I was so certain was a setup that I thought he was going to try and kill me too. And that date was, he took me to a very nice restaurant, and I got drunk and made an ass of myself because I was actually fearful, to be honest. That date was, let me see, that was back in 2000. So, what is it? It's 22 years since I've even been on a date with a man. I mean, as in a proper date, like taken out and treated like a gorgeous woman deserves to be treated, right? Not these fucking feckless frotterings I had up to 8 years ago for a brief window of period of time from 2011 to 2015, when I was really, really working at hoping to get a nice partner, and then got nothing but used and abused and my heart broken. So there is that, Back to celibacy I went, and I've got no regrets about that, If I need to live a celibate, asexual lifestyle to stay safe, then it's a sacrifice that's worth making, really. But, I can't imagine going on an actual date with anyone now after 22 years. My goodness. Someone who actually said, I'd like you to come out with me and actually treat me with respect and cherish me. My goodness. I wouldn't trust in it anyway. My mind would be too blown. I'd be too when's the other shoe going to fall? When's it's going to get ugly? Because almost always gets ugly. And that's the tragedy, why I've had to remain alone. People think I'm weird, and so be it, They haven't walked in my moccasins. So, here I am in the afternoon heat with my dog, making mad videos for YouTube because I can. And my truth is an important truth. And blessed we are, blessed shall we be. Happy Samhain and happy Halloween. And the ancestors that love me are keeping me entertained and providing for me in abundance and gifting me joy and comfort and ease with my beautiful pets and my few rare and precious friends, and loving me where no mortal man or human has ever been capable of loving me, and that's my reality. Daughter of the gods, here with my doggy. Anyway, love is the law, people. Blessings to all. God bless. I'll speak to you soon. Take good care in the space-time continuum.